Hello everybody, welcome to today's webinar on cybersecurity. My name is Peter Lambert. I'm a pre-sales technician, and as security is a topic I'm passionate about, I'm also a security blogger for Diamond. Today I'm discussing online threats to your organizations and your organization and Diamond can do to help keep you protected. The threats we face as individuals and as part of our organizations are growing, both in their frequency and the sophistication of the threats. Here's some examples of recent breaches. The prevention of these breaches is collectively known as cybersecurity. Actually, all of these are targeted attacks on significant targets. We'll talk more about that as we go along. Let's have a look at the threats we're facing. Ransomware is not as prevalent as other breaches, but it's one we hear a lot about because it causes a lot of pain for our customers. And of course, home users. It can be quite devastating as well. So, yeah, we want to stress that you should not be fully focused on ransomware. If you are subject to a ransomware breach, then you're really vulnerable to all types of breaches. And that is from the experts as well, say that. It's proof of a flawed security network is their point. The emerging threat is from home devices, often connecting via VPN, which effectively puts them on the inside of your network. And of course, we have mobile devices, including smartphones, and the new threat coming along in the future years, and maybe not far away, is the Internet of Things. As our mundane devices become intelligent, whether that be a washing machine or a mining truck, cars, they're going to become part of what's called the Internet of Things, and they will also be a threat and be threatened. And as I mentioned in the previous slide about targeted attacks, so what we're seeing mostly now is non-specific attacks, often to an entire country or worldwide, all the same. We're going to start seeing more targeted attacks. Targeted attacks towards people who work for a certain organization, people who use a certain bank, people who drive a certain car. You all know about software as a service and internet as a service. Well, here's ransomware as a service. This is something you actually can buy through dark web websites and through untraceable currencies like Bitcoin. You can buy ransomware and employ it to attack people and make money. So this is an example of just how prevalent it's become. It's become a business. To protect yourself from crypto or ransomware and all the other threats, you need a holistic approach to cybersecurity. By holistic, I mean multi-layered and well thought out, well planned. Don't be the low-hanging fruit. Don't be the easy target. Your business needs to be harder to target than others. Chances are they'll go elsewhere. Here's 3 examples of real phishing emails. They've caught a lot of Aussies out. Notice that they're all specified or customized for the Australian market. The AFP one, that one's actually as an example from the AFP, and the others are Telstra and AGL bill. Have a look in the AGL bill, the address right at the top, the small writing there, but you can see that it's got a TR extension. That means it's come from Turkey. AGL does not send emails from Turkey. A little bit of vigilance can go a long way, and this is part of the education we're talking about here. So in AGL, or in the other one, the Telstra one, if you hover your mouse above any links or buttons, they should pop up after a second or two extra information, and that's usually where you will see that you're not going to a valid URL, domain name. You're going to either a IP number without a domain name, which is a sign that it's bad, or a completely different, unrelated domain name. That's your warning. Also, if an email comes into your junk mail folder, be highly skeptical of it. Don't just think that junk mail's made a mistake. Junk mail has filters that you don't see, and if it's put there, it's suspicious for a reason. So be very skeptical before you write it as being good, as a false positive. Should you be concerned? Absolutely, you should be concerned. The risk of financial damage to your organization, to your home, well, not so much for home, but just for things that you can't replace is huge. This example here is about ransomware and typical downtime. Not many businesses could survive over 10 days of downtime, and yet 17% have reported that's what they faced. It's also the damage to the morale of your staff, your management, your productivity, and the confidence in management and your IT section, and your customer security and confidence in you. Ransom organizations also become preferred targets. Once they know they can get money out of you, they will target you specifically, and that will make you even more vulnerable. The data security plan is one of the main things the experts recommend, and I certainly recommend it as well. A data security plan is a document that outlines all of the following points. A data recovery plan, which is formalization of your backup and restore, procedures, hardware, budgeting, future planning, practice. Practice your data recovery. As I've been told before, and it was after a loss of data, that nothing is backed up until it's restored. So practice that, restore, have confidence in your systems. Policies and procedures, that refers both to the human element and to the computer element. So your staff need to be given clear policies and procedures that help protect themselves. And of course, there are also policies that can be applied in Windows and server and firewalls. Brings us to the next point. Firewalls and universal threat management devices are a key point in protecting you. Deflecting, as they call it, the threats that come into your organization. They won't stop everything, but they can stop most, and that's really important. It reduces the risk of a breach. I just want to make a point about mobile phones. Typically, iPhones and Windows phones are not vulnerable, especially if they're not toyed with, but Android phones do need antivirus. They are vulnerable, and there are a number of exploits out there. So if they're coming in your business, or if they are business devices, they need that sort of protection. If they're being brought in by home, you need appropriate policies and procedures, and bring your own device, BYOD, and that's also referring to the human element and the computer element. And lastly, the big point is update. I've heard in the past businesses didn't want to update because they were worried about problems from the updates. You've got a much bigger problem if you don't update. Most updates that get sent out through to your operating systems and your servers and your firewalls and your antivirus and your firmware are to fix security flaws. Do update. It's very important. Now at home, you need to stay protected at home through education. As we've discussed in other points, key way to protect your home and your data. Avoid dodgy sites. So if we've got any risky use at home, I would always recommend that you don't use the same PC that you would use to connect to work or do any work on or keep any important files on. Better still, stay away from dodgy sites. What are dodgy sites? The obvious ones are things like torrenting sites. Basically anything that gives you pop-ups unwanted and has lots of ads splashed around, auto-playing videos, all that sort of stuff. That's a key sign that you're on a risky site. You want to pay for good anti-malware, antivirus systems. The example is just actually a little one I used to use out on the road called Super Anti-Spyware. It was great for finding spyware, which is what it's designed for, of course, but it's something that you need to have. Choose one if you can that has sandboxing. By sandboxing, what it means is that it brings it in and tests any suspicious elements to emails or programs in a sandbox environment, in an enclosed environment where it can't get out, and just checks for any unusual activity from that file. Offline and online backups. Online off backups, what I mean by that is out in the cloud. If you've got copies of your files up OneDrive or the Apple iCloud or Dropbox, these are examples. And if you have fire or theft or a ransomware attack where you lose your data, then you've got a copy of data elsewhere. Offline backups, I'm referring to attached storage, whether that be a removable hard drive. I do want to make a point that if you use hard drives, removable hard drives, they are great for backup, but it'd be better if you disconnect them when they're done as part of the routine, because most ransomware software these days actually seeks backups as a priority. So make sure they're not available as just another hard drive on your system, another map drive, because it'll be one of the first things they go after. Administrator versus user accounts. Most people make the mistakes at home of primarily using their main account as an administrator, not a user account. If you have your main day-to-day account as a user account and save the administrator account with a different password for when you need it, you and those who use these computers are at far less risk. And back to update. Just like in the workplace, updating your software, updating antivirus and firmware when you can reduces your risk of breaches. The days of worms are over. No more Melissa virus and red alert. These days, two main threats for us are ransomware and Trojan horses. And Trojan horses often because they introduce other threats to us, including could be ransomware as well. Well, how do you know if you're infected? Well, if it's ransomware, they're going to tell you because that's what it's for. It's there to threaten you and extort money from you. Trojan horses are the opposite. They're all about secrecy. It really depends on the vigilance of the users and the quality, let's call it that, and how up to date your antivirus is. So make sure you've got the best that you can afford. Keep it up to date and be vigilant for any strange behavior. If you do see strange behavior, my other advice is to throw as many antivirus programs as you can at it. Each one is good at better things, and a variety of things. The more you throw at it, the more likely you'll find the problem. If you do get infected and you don't have backups and you've lost a lot of data to encryption and ransomware, don't throw away the files. It's possible in the future those master keys will be seized by law enforcement agencies and you can get the files back. It's already happened with a couple of the earlier versions of ransomware, such as CryptoWall and CryptoLocker. Most of the keys have been recovered, so files that were lost in those early days, those first couple of years, are now recoverable through these keys. Prevention is better than cure, and that definitely applies to internet technology, information technology. So we want you to develop strategies and plans. Put in Windows policies that restrict your risk. Security audit is something that Dial can do for you. We'll go through your systems, find the flaws before someone else finds them. It's an opportunity to improve your systems, one, and reduce your risk because it's better to find beforehand than when you've been caught out. And keep your network and server infrastructure up to date. The newer software, the hardware, the newer operating systems, each time have improved security, and it's definitely worthwhile reducing your risk by those methods. Another thing we're doing, which I haven't put on here, is that Diamond is we've developed our own team called the Technology Optimization Team, and they are actually a proactive support program. They go out and try and find problems before they happen, and a large part of what they do is actually security based. So 4 key actions for you to do at work and home. Password policies. Don't use password one. It's one of the first things every hacker tries. Let your staff use them as temporary passwords because they'll either forget or not bother, and boom, done. Develop and practice and maintain your data recovery plan. Update your firewalls, update Windows, update your software. And educate yourself and others. It's a key element is that the people, are the weakest point in the chain of security. Just want to revisit the password policies. We need to include default passwords on devices. That can even include printers and other things on our network. Anything on your network should not have a default password. They're extremely well known, and they are, as I mentioned with the password one sort of thing, they're the first thing tried by hackers. Thanks for joining the webinar today. I'm available if you have any questions via email or phone through the information you see on screen. I'd love to hear your feedback on the webinar, and if you've got any requests for future webinars. Thanks.